Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Charles Thomas, former ABC7 political reporter, as you know, in for Amy J this morning.
Yeah, you're rocking some green onions, Booker T.
Yeah.
I hear you.
All right, we turn to all things federal law enforcement now. And obviously I want to get to the developments in the Hunter Biden Inc. investigation case, cover-up, whitewashing, spiking. New text from Hunter Biden to his Chinese communist friends has been unearthed. There's new evidence from testimony released from IRS whistleblowers that we need to talk about with our friend Kevin Brock. But I want to start with January 6th, just because this video that's circulating, and I want to get his take on it. You know, you talk about January 6th, and you ask questions about, like, law enforcement involvement, confidential informants that federal or Capitol Police may have used. What did they do? Were there any instances of instigation? And this is not to say that people didn't of their own volition do things that were illegal and wrong and shouldn't be prosecuted. Should they be put in a hole for a year awaiting trial? No, I don't think so. But you can hold these two thoughts together. I know that those on the left and the Never Trump crowd can't, but you can. You can say people did wrong on January 6th, those rioters, the people who trespassed and vandalized public spaces and so forth. It should be prosecuted. And you can also say that there are instances where prosecutors have behaved badly. We know that in the QAnon shaman case, where they withheld exculpatory evidence, which is a violation of the rules of evidence, okay, for the law and order, the newfound law and order types on the left, and some in the Never Trump crowd as well. That's for example. And you can question the denial of bail, and you can question the disregard, this report out yesterday, shown by law enforcement to intelligence about January 6th and preparation. And you can disregard President Trump saying explicitly, go to the Capitol and peacefully protest, which is what he said from the podium. And you can disregard the escorting of people around the halls and no real good explanation of that. You can just invest all of your belief into the Star Chamber and the show that was put on by Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger playing useful idiots to the congressional Democrats. You can do that, but I'm not going to. Okay, so there you go. This exchange between police officers, ostensibly from January 6th, talking about how to identify non-uniformed officers in the crowd.
There's this guy that was just up here, short guy, dark hair, black vest, thin blue line thing on, dark hair, and he's got like a little 27 or something on his hip. No police identification on him at all. I couldn't get to him because there were so many people. But just keep an eye on white male. White male, dark hair. All right. It looked like a grayish black, maybe a digital
your
fatigue.
non-uniform guys have any identifiers, like wristband?
They will have a wristband. Their guns will have a candy stripe on the barrel.
Okay.
I don't know the wristband color, but they'll have a wristband somewhere, okay?
So you hear one ask the other that's in uniform, how do you identify the non-uniform cops? And he says they'll have a wristband, they'll have a candy stripe on the weapon. Now, again, to not go too far the other way either, beyond what we know, I mean, it's fine to have non-uniform police there. It doesn't bother me in and of itself. It's just a simple question: who did what when on that day? And I don't know why asking a simple question like that draws such ire from the Dems and the Never Trumpers. Well, I do, because they don't want to have a room temperature discussion about what happened. They've decided it's an insurrection. They've decided everybody's an insurrectionist, whether you did anything illegal or not. You're an insurrectionist if you supported Trump, and this is a way that they can continue to demagogue not just Trump, but his voters. For more on this, Kevin Brock, former Assistant Director of Intel for the FBI, former Principal Deputy Director of the National Counterterrorism Center. Kevin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan, Charles. How you doing? Hey, before we start, I just want to let you know that I'm sitting here with my father, so be careful what you say because I hold a grudge.
Kevin Brock, Charles, is the rare G-man with a sense of humor.
Oh,
yeah, very good. All right, we will make sure that those WhatsApp messages are subpoenaed, by the way.
Yes, please.
Great. So what about sort of that snippet from Jan 6th and just sort of where things stand as the Jan 6th events continue to be somewhat shrouded in intrigue and otherwise demagogue beyond beyond any recognition?
Well, the questions you raise are the important ones, and that is, it's one thing to have a police presence or a law enforcement presence anticipating, some type of violence, but was there any action taken by law enforcement that cajoled, encouraged, fomented, where something might not have happened if that wasn't present? I worked white supremacists, racist Aryan nations way back in the day when I was a young agent, and it was a common tactic for us to infiltrate those groups with informants and undercovers because we could. It was easy. It was easy to flip those people and make them informants. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was groups showing up that had members that were already talking to law enforcement, whether it was the FBI or their local law enforcement. So the presence there doesn't surprise me. What we're looking for, as you raise, is an instigation factor, and that's still something that's being fleshed out. I think what January 6th did show, subsequently has shown since then, is given more meat to the conspiracy theory that there's a two-tier justice system in this country, because there's a perception out there that there's been robust follow-up on this, as there should have been, where there was not an equally robust follow-up on the Antifa riots during the summer of 2020.
And just on that score, we saw a story earlier this week that Paul Abate, the deputy director of the FBI, who won't tell the Senate Judiciary Committee much about anything related to Hunter Biden, was put the word out within the agency saying, anybody questioning our handling of J6 as compared to, say, the rioting that took place in the summer of 2020 after George Floyd's murder, that's not going to be tolerated, and so on and so forth. That was essentially, basically it was a shut your mouth directive.
Well, that's fine. Then come out and transparently demonstrate the actions that we're taking during that summer against those rioters. Right now, the American people are left with perception that there's uneven application of a willingness to investigate, pursue, and charge that there was against the January 6th protesters. Let anybody who broke a law pursue them with vigor and pursue them even-handedly. Right now, that perception is out there. So, Paul, whom I know, his answer should be, let us show you what was done.
And rather than that, it's always, any invocation, law enforcement actions on January 6th or things related to Hunter Biden can't tell you. It's means and methods. It's an ongoing investigation. It's this and it's that. It's just a never-ending evasion. And you say, well, and it just goes sort of years on, hoping people forget, lose interest. I mean, this is how you have a 5-year DOJ investigation into Hunter Biden's tax filings and gun application.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always said it's the duty of the leadership, the director and the deputy director of the FBI and the leaders in the FBI to reassure the American people that the FBI is operating in a nonpartisan way. You cannot hide behind all the time. You can't hide behind, well, it's an ongoing investigation, we can't comment. That doesn't work anymore. And there's plenty that can be said that can reassure the American people that things are being pursued and done in an even-handed way. And I'd like to see more of that.
Talking about the Hunter Biden investigation, he's going to be deposed today in the civil defamation case that was filed by the computer repair shop owner in Delaware against Hunter Biden for lying about he's this and he's that. He stole my computer. He did this and that when he abandoned it. So forth. Anyway, we got another email, WhatsApp exchange. This is from August of 2017. Hunter Biden telling his associate with this Chinese energy company that he was, I guess, they're partnering on. The Chinese Communist adjacent individual Gong Wendong. He's texted this message: "The Bidens are the best I know at doing exactly what the chairman wants from this partnership." The chairman is Yi Jianming, a Chinese billionaire that's tied to CCP intelligence gathering agency. He is now presumed dead after he disappeared. So anyway, yeah, the Bidens are the best I know at doing exactly what the chairman wants from this partnership. This after the one you joked about earlier in the week from a month earlier. Hey, Henry, make with the money or my dad and his friends are going to be angry with you.
Right.
So
my dad can beat up your dad.
Yeah. And we're supposed to believe from David Weiss, the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, that the investigation into Biden Inc. is ongoing, or at least Hunter Biden is ongoing. What do you believe as you've seen this plea agreement announced on the tax and gun charges, as you're seeing the testimony from IRS whistleblowers, as you're seeing these text messages being made public by House Republicans? What's your handle on this whole investigation into Biden Incorporated?
My concern is that the current Department of Justice is doing everything it can to suppress an investigation and investigative results against the Bidens, the president in particular. They're in full protection mode. They have demonstrated over the years that they will do the president's bidding, all the way from doing an early morning search of journalists for his daughter's diary, absent any federal charge, to mounting a full-blown search, a kinetic search of a former president's residence. All of these things are unprecedented coming out of a Department of Justice. So they've shown that they're willing to do the bidding of the White House for political goals. The thing that's been most striking to me, Dan, is the absence of a Foreign Agent Registration Act charge as part of this plea agreement that they reached last week with Hunter Biden. Where are those charges? But it's clear that from all his emails that he was doing business with foreign entities and receiving a lot of money, yet no evidence that he ever registered as a foreign agent. Now, granted, as people have pointed out, that's a federal law that's rarely, if ever, investigated. Well, it was investigated once when Crossfire Hurricane was opened up as a Foreign Agent Registration Act violation based on bar talk by a Trump campaign person saying, hey, the Russians have reached out and said they've got some dirt on Hillary Clinton. So they opened up a FARA case on that, and yet all this other...
Paul Manafort.
Now they got a mountain of evidence that Hunter Biden was doing business with foreign entities and not registering. Where are those charges? Why weren't they part of a plea agreement? So, it's becoming harder and harder to argue against the perception of a bifurcated justice system in this country, but when it comes to the Bidens. And the email that you just, or the WhatsApp that you just referred to, where he's referring to the Bidens in the third person, clearly indicates that he's leveraging the power of his father in all of his business dealings.
Mm-hmm. Question here from Charles.
Yeah.
Aren't the Chinese business people on the other side of the line here, aren't they potential devastating witnesses against the Bidens? And how would they fit into the mosaic here?
Well, they would be if you could reach them, and they would be responsive. They live overseas. It's hard to serve them with a subpoena that they would honor. But yes, they would be devastating witnesses and could corroborate a lot of this.
And they are controlled by the Chinese government. The communist China.
Well,
yeah,
that's right, and that's going to be Hunter Biden's defense. How can you believe a bunch of Chinese executives who are controlled by the Chinese Communist Party? So, Charles, yeah, it would be a nice thing to see and have developed, but I don't see that as an eventuality.
So, the question that we put to you before, and I appreciate you continuing to come on the show to get beaten up. You're sort of like the punching bag for the FBI here, but the rank and file, it's a leadership problem. The rank and file. Does it really matter at the end of the day if the FBI as an agency wields its power illegitimately? And if it can't demonstrate that it can wield its power legitimately, then it really doesn't matter how many great field agents the agency has, does it?
Fair point, and that's why I say it's a responsibility of the leadership of the FBI to make sure this doesn't happen. And that damage was done by Comey. It seems to be continuing a bit now. Afterwards, where hard questions are being asked and not answered, and so it leaves hanging out there a belief that maybe they are not acting in a bipartisan way or an objective way. Dan, it's getting harder and harder to defend. I will say that the FBI has maintained that they did follow up investigation on some of these allegations, but were stifled by the Department of Justice going forward, and we've got evidence of that happening as well. So it's not all FBI. There just seems to be a consolidated effort to make sure that when it comes to the Bidens, a different system of justice is administered, and we saw that last week with the plea agreement, where he's not going to really suffer any consequences for some massive tax evasion and a very meaningful gun charge that a lot of people have gone to jail for in the past.
He is Kevin Brock, former Assistant Director of Intel for the FBI, former Principal Deputy Director of the National Counterterrorism Center as well. Kevin, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, gents. Bye.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Sign up today for an unforgettable experience in Israel this October. Dennis Prager and I are traveling back to the Holy Land on the Stand With Israel tour with our trusted partner, Inspiration Cruises and Tours. Visit standwithisraeltour.com and sign up today. This trip of a lifetime to Israel is one you won't want to miss. Register today before it's too late. Go to standwithisraeltour.com, standwithisraeltour.com, or call 855-565-5519. That's 855-565-5519.
Imagine trying to eat 31 different kinds of produce in a single day. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot to me. Luckily for us, we don't have to worry about that.